to start the video. I got it started now. Alright, so number one, who made the first Spanish landing on the mainland of North America? Chris.
Lee Harrison? Is that what you're saying?
First Spanish landing.
Oh, we're not reviewing.
Spanish.
Okay.
No. Question one, Chris. Number one. What answer do you have for your homework as number one?
I'm not smart. Juan Ponce de Leon.
Good job, Juan Ponce de Leon. Good job with pronunciation. Number two, who discovered the Pacific Ocean? I'm sorry, Genesis. Okay, say it louder so Jamie and Quentin can hear you.
Vasco da Gama.
Alright, Vasco da Gama. Good job. Number three, whose crew completed the first voyage around the world? Because technically he died. Alright, Ethan.
Magellan.
Good job, Ferdinand Magellan. Good job. Number four, who conquered the Aztecs? Reckon, do you remember this one from your reading or no? That's okay. We'll just go backwards. Ethan.
Cortez.
What is it? Alright.
Cortez.
Okay, let's practice your full sentence so they can hear it.
Cortez discovered the Aztecs.
Alright. Fernando Cortez, yes. Now I will correct him, Chris. You don't need to correct him. So keep your mouth closed. Alright, number five. Who conquered the Incas of Peru? Genesis.
Francisco Pizarro.
Good job. Francisco Pizarro, if you're going off Spanish pronunciation for it. Number seven. Who explored the coast of California for Spain? Alright, Chris.
Yeah,
You make that.
Juan Cabrillo discovered the coast of California.
Good job. Juan Cabrillo. Yeah, it is different Spanish pronunciation. Make sure you're not distracting other people, Brecken. Do you have a question? Okay, ask him after class since you're going over the homework. Just ask him later on for it, alright? Thank you. Number eight. What was the Catholic Church's response to the Protestant Reformation? Genesis.
The Catholic Church's response to the Protestant Reformation was a counter-reformation.
Good
It was supposed to crush Protestantism and bring as many souls as possible back to the Catholic fold.
Yep, good job with that. And then, what led to the decline of Spain as a world power? Alright, Chris.
Spanish Armada. The defeat of the Spanish Armada.
There you go. That was it. The defeat of Spanish Armada. Did you happen to write down the date for it? If you did, it's okay.
No ma'am. I said the Spanish Armada was the beginning of Spain's conquest.
Technically, it's not just the Spanish Armada, but you did complete the idea. This is the defeat of the Spanish Armada. That's fine. Did you write the date down, Ethan, or not?
The date? No, I wrote a person.
Okay, the defeat of the Spanish Armada, or 1588.
What
So
was the
that
question?
was when it asked what led, so like what event happened.
Oh, I thought it said who.
I guess technically, if you want to blame
Philip?
Philip II, I guess you could, but technically, it was the defeat of the Spanish Armada. Alright, put away your textbooks for right now. How about a blank piece of paper so you can write down terms and definitions that you know, so we can go over this really fast. We don't have a whole lot of time. Alright, think it back over. We're going to play the popcorn game. I think everyone's played it in a class so far, but we're going to do just the hand version. Oh, Ben does not play this one. Alright, because I don't want you jumping up right after lunch, that might not be a good idea depending on what you eat. So, because of that, we're going to do your palms on the desk. Encourage you to raise your hand after I say go. And I highly recommend you write these down. They will hopefully try to cement them into your head as fast as humanly possible while we're getting ready for reviewing for maybe stuff later on today. Or not. It's up to me. Yes.
It's just the palm game. We played it in biology.
Biology? We didn't have
Is that a question, Chris? No?
Right?
No? Alright, moving on. Who do we give credit for discovering North America? Who do we give credit for discovering and reporting it, not just finding it? So, discovering it and then telling people back home about it. Go.
That was me.
Oh, I think it was Chris Bailey. 5, 4. Good job. Who do we think discovered it about 1000 AD, but didn't really tell anybody, so it didn't really matter a whole lot? Go. That was Ethan. Leif Erikson. Alright, what do you call that joining of the 5 Indian tribes all together? What was that loose alliance called? Go. Ethan. I'm sorry, I pointed at you and I said Ethan. Chris.
Iroquois Confederation.
Good job. Iroquois Confederacy, technically. Alright, what do you call the Iroquois Confederacy?
What did I say?
Iroquois Confederation. Spelling. Alright, what is the, I guess, economic standpoint, political standpoint, whenever all life centers around ownership and use of land? Go. That was Ethan.
Hold on, something that right.
Just ripping it.
Federalism? Feudalism. Feudalism.
Feudalism is correct. Feudalism. You know, the students in the video can hear that, so let's not do it quite so loud when people are trying to answer. Alright, what is the new social class that developed in Europe because of the Crusades and people trading back and forth? What was that new class? Go. That was Chris.
Middle class.
The middle class. Alright, name one of the 4 nations that came out of the Middle Ages as the rising powers. Go. Name one. Okay.
France.
What was that?
France.
France. Alright, what's another one?
Portugal.
Portugal. Anyone want to name another one?
Name.
Okay, well, you both got points. So,
Italy.
nope. Alright,
Okay.
Ethan, you know another one?
New England.
Okay. England.
England.
Just England at this point. And then what's the last one, Chris?
Spain.
Spain. So those are the 4. So make a note of those 4. What year is the movable type printing press invented? What year? Go. That was Genesis.
440.
1440.
I was about to say.
Alright. Who invented the printing press? Go. That's Chris.
Are you kidding?
What's first
It
name?
says first name.
Frederick Cooper. Who's the German?
Okay, so this is the day 3. I will take it. But Johann Gutenberg.
Johann.
Johann Gutenberg. Alright. Who? Watch your words.
She's a gosh, I
I'm
thought.
sorry.
You don't say that, I forgot. Alright, what year did the Protestant Reformation start? Protestant Reformation. Go. It was still Chris for you.
1517.
1517. Who do we give credit for starting the Protestant Reformation? Because he nailed his 95 theses or those 95 questions. Who do we give credit for it? Go. Okay, that was Ethan.
Martin.
Martin Luther. Alright. Who was the prince is what his title is. Technically he was the ruler. But who was the Prince of Portugal that we give kind of credit for kind of starting navigation by sea and encouraging exploration? Go.
What is his name start with?
His name starts with H.
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 It starts with an H.
H.
Prince.
I mean, if you're talking like his first name, but like that's all their first names at this point.
What's his last name? Sorry.
So is it Prince last name or Prince first name?
Prince, first name, the navigator. Wait, video. Okay, 5 minutes, we gotta go.
Prince Hannibal Lecter, I don't know.
Nope.
Prince Henry the Navigator.
Prince Henry the Navigator. Prince Henry the Navigator. Alright, who reached the Cape of Good Hope at the southern tip of Africa and then went back home? Didn't make it all the way around yet. So who made it to the tip of Africa?
Legitimately, we
Go.
can't.
We'll
Not
start
Balboa.
Tacoma.
Nope. Okay, you can't keep going guessing. His last name begins with a D.
But that's our target.
Alright, what do you guess? Starts with D.
What's the first name?
B.
B?
B.
Or weird name?
Yeah.
Bartholomew. Bartholomew.
I'll take it.
Here's the last name.
That's the most important part. I think that.
Bartholomew
No, he's not.
de Carlos.
Nope. Okay, first one.
Bartholomew Diaz.
Bartholomew Diaz, so he's still above you, sorry. Alright, so the pronunciation is Bartholomew Diaz, that's how they pronounce it now.
Bartholomew.
I know, it's a different pronunciation now, they've updated it, so it's trying to get closer to his pronunciation. Alright, who made it all the way around Africa to India? What was that explorer's name? Go. Alright, Ethan?
Was that Balboa? No,
Balboa was later, he's from the reading that you had last night. What?
Tacoma.
You keep giving us a second guess.
I let you guess. Alright, Vasco da Gama, so Vasco da Gama, make a note of him.
I'm gonna cry myself.
Alright, who, let's see, what year did Christopher Columbus discover America? Go. Okay, that was Chris. Okay, we don't need all the comments because they can hear it and we'll move on. Okay. Couple seconds, we gotta go.
1492.
What was it?
1492.
1492 is
Right.
correct. Alright, who
Almost
funded
61.
Christopher Columbus exploration? Go. Okay, that was Ethan.
Ferdinand and Isabella.
Good job. What country?
Spain.
That's it. Alright, name one of the 3 ships that Christopher Columbus used to go to America. Go. I think Chris, that was really close to me too.
Santa Maria.
I'll take it. Santa Marina, the Nina, and the Pinta. So those are the 3. Yes.
who went to the Cape of Africa.
The Cape of Good Hope.
Yeah.
Bartholomew. So M-E-U is the last part. B-S. B-I-A-S.
What did we just put the last name? Is that half?
For today, if there is a quiz. We will just take last name, because it's the first one, if it is today.
There's,
It is.
there's
No.
no.
Just get ready. Alright, who do we give credit for actually saying that the land Christopher Columbus discovered was in fact a whole new continent? We should treat it as such, or a whole new landmass. Go, Ethan.
Vespucci.
Go, what's his first
I
name?
can't.
We just gotta practice.
Vespucci.
Alright, what's his first name? That's not his first name.
Amerigo.
Amerigo Vespucci. You are correct with that. Alright, that's as far as we got. Anyone have any questions about that? Chris, you got any questions about it?
Who won?
Any questions about this though?
No.
Alright, anyone have 8 points or more? Alright, Chris. Oh, Ethan, do you have 8 points or more? Alright, 10 points or more?
I have 9.
I have none.
Okay, you got a piece of candy? Don't forget.
Wait, I didn't get my piece of candy from earlier and
That's unfortunate.
Ooh.
Last year.
You gotta remember. Alright, take out 2 pieces of paper, pen and a pencil.
I
Two
knew
pieces
it.
of paper. Alright, hurry.
Wait.
Alright. 2 pieces of paper, pen and a pencil.
Before we start,
Yes.
he is the guy that went to get the hope.
Yes.
Okay.
Madonna, and all the way around. Pen and a pencil. You do need a cover sheet in this class because there you choose, all of you are right next to each other, so you have to have the cover sheet. So make sure you're using your cover sheet so that way you're not cheating off the person next to you. So that you're all tight together. Make sure you take it in pen, write the name and date at the top. You can just write U.S. history quiz. You don't have to worry about the numbering. The numbering is going to get weird anyway. If you want to, you can. It's fine. This is obviously quiz 1.
Quick one.
Quiz 1. If you want to write quiz 1. And then go ahead and number it 1 through 10. 1 through 10.
I think it's supposed to be on.
Look at the sideboard. Remember, we take our quizzes in pen here, and if we were grading them, we would grade them in pencil. They should have one. Let's go. Right, number 1. Who do we think discovered North America at around 1000 AD? But you didn't go back and really tell anybody about it, so there was no real significance of it. But who do we think discovered North America at around 1000 AD? Number 2. What is the type of political or social structure when all life centers around the ownership and use of land? What do we call that economic or political structure? Whenever all aspects of life are centered on the ownership and use of the land, what do we call that? Number 3. What was the new social class that developed in Europe because of trade with the Orient? What was the new social class that developed in Europe because of trade with the Orient? Number 4. Name one of the 4 nations that emerged as a dominant power at the end of the Middle Ages. Pick the one you know you can spell. So I don't care which one, pick the one that you know you can spell. So what were one of the 4 greatest nations to emerge in Western Europe at the end of the Middle Ages? Number 5. What is the year for the inventing of the movable type printing press? What is the year for the inventing of the movable type printing press? Number 6. What is the year for the start of the Protestant Reformation? What is the year for the start of the Protestant Reformation? Number 7. For today only, you may just give the last name. For future reference, you want to give first and last name. What is the name for the explorer that made it all the way around Africa to India? What is the name for the explorer that made it all the way around Africa to India? What is the name for that explorer? Today only you may give last name, but for future you want to give first and last name. Number 8. Name one of the 3 ships that Christopher Columbus used to get to the New World. Pick the one that you know you can spell correctly. Name one of the 3 ships Christopher Columbus took to the New World. Number 9. What is the date for Christopher Columbus discovering North America? What is the year or date for Christopher Columbus discovering the New World? And then lastly, number 10. Who do we give credit for saying that the land Christopher Columbus discovered was a whole new landmass and not just another smaller section of the Indies? Who do we give credit to saying that this land was a whole new landmass area and not just an extension of the Indies? Alright, does anyone need any question repeated? Genesis? Which one? Question number 1? Question number 1. Who do we think discovered North America at around 1000 AD? Or 81,000 basically. Alright, do you need one of these 10 questions repeated, Chris? Is that one of the questions? Is that what I'm asking for, one of these questions being repeated? Alright, anybody else need one of these 10 questions repeated? Nope. Alright, go ahead, and as you double check your answers, make sure your name and date is at the top, and then go ahead and hand it to me. Because of Corona, you can't grade them in class right now. I will try to grade them and get them back to you as quickly as possible. So, because of that, we can't go over the answers because of the video students as well. So, that way they can't accidentally cheat and hear the answers before they take their quiz later. So, because of that, I will let you know as fast as possible, or you can always ask your parents to check on WinRep. I try to put the grade up online, typically on the same day, so if you really want to know, ask your parents to check the grade for you, so that way you can know, or you can wait just until the next day, and that is also fine. Alright, go ahead, take out your textbooks, turn over to page number 8. That's where we left off last class period, finishing up talking about Amerigo Vespucci, and also talking about with Portugal and Spain. Because remember, there were the 5 nations that emerged at the end of the Middle Ages. What was one, Ethan?
France.
France, what was another one, Brecken? Spain, what was another one? Portugal, and then what was the last one? Genesis. Ethan, do you remember? England. So that was the last one. Now, England is undergoing the Protestant Reformation for this time period, so they're not quite getting able to navigation. They are, but they're still emerging as a power and still kind of associating their identity. So they're not up to par with Spain and Portugal yet. Now keep in mind, who was the main country that was responsible for kind of exploring at this era? Which country kind of got the jump on it? Anyone remember? This is one who's in one. Remember the prince that was kind of starting it? Chris?
Wasn't it Portugal?
Portugal. Now keep in mind, Christopher Columbus discovered America for who? What country founded his expedition? Spain. So, Portugal and Spain are both kind of going at it right now because Portugal was the ones kind of getting up and going and they were exploring. Well, Spain said, we discovered some new land. Dibs on all of it. And so Portugal obviously said, no, we're exploring too. We want some of it as well. So these two countries start having problems and they start having not aggression at each other, but they were both saying, we want claims to the New World. Portugal was saying, we're exploring, we want to go explore. And Spain is basically saying, no, it's mine, all of it. Now, the Pope Alexander VI, he decided that he would end the rivalry. Now, you might be wondering, well, who cares what the Pope says? But keep in mind, what was the dominant religion of Spain and Portugal at this time? Genesis? Catholicism or Catholic. So who's in charge of the Roman Catholic Church? The Pope. And so that's how come they both listened to him, because both countries said, fine, you can decide. England at this time period is already undergoing the Protestant Reformation, and they are more of a Protestant nation. So does England care what the Pope says, Ethan? Nope, they don't care. England still does their own thing throughout all of this. They don't care what happens. So that's the reason why time, Spain and Portugal, they listened to Pope Alexander VI make a note of him and his name. He ended the rivalry by drawing an imaginary line, the line of demarcation. And that's what this line is. Now, as you look at this, you might think, well, somebody got ripped off. At the time, they didn't really know how much of the land was on one side and how much of the land was on the other. They were going off the islands off Africa and figuring out where Columbus landed and trying to pick an even spot in between them. It wasn't until way later that they realized, oh, somebody got really ripped off. But that's okay. And at that point, it was pretty much too late. So Spain got everything to the left of the line of demarcation. Brazil gets everything to the right of the line of demarcation. So Portugal, they got everything over here on this side, while for Spain, Spain got everything else on the other side. My mouse is not working properly my computer. So Portugal gets this side, Spain gets this side. As you can tell, there's only one little tip, and so that's part of the reason why Portugal landed there, and then they started claiming land more internally. That's why Brazil today speaks Portuguese. Well, pretty much every other nation in South America speaks Spanish, and that's the reason why for it today. Do make a note of the explorer for Portugal, Pedro Cabral. Make a note of him that he landed on the coast of Brazil. He was on the Portuguese side, and so he was the person that helped claim the area of Brazil for Portugal. And that's how come Brazil speaks Portuguese today. Alright, just make a note of that. Alright. Your books are switching gears now, starts talking about all the different conquerors of Spain sending over people to come conquer the New World. Keep in mind, they'd already been involved in their version of the Crusades. Anyone remember what we call their version of the Crusades whenever they are driving out the Moors or Muslims from Spain into Africa? Yep, the Reconquista. So these people, instead of being called Reconquistadors, I think I said that by accident yesterday, they're just called Conquistadors. So they leave off the R in front of it. So let's make a note for that. So Conquistadors. These were the conquerors from Spain going over to basically conquer the Native Americans of North and South America. They start over here in the Central America area, and then they start spreading in North America and then South America as well from it. Alright. So their job for this one, instead of just driving out the Muslims, they're going to try to purge the Native Americans, which in some cases, okay, the Native American religion was kind of rough, as you probably realized from your reading last night. Ooh, gross. But keep in mind that they said, okay, here's your solution. You either convert to Roman Catholic or you die. That works. And so part of the reason, that's how come so many people of North and South America, so many countries, even today, their dominant religion is Roman Catholic, because they didn't want to die. That's not a good evangelizing tactic. You shouldn't do that, but that was the idea back in the day. Convert or die. Swear over to our religion, or you're going on to meet your maker at this point. Alright, so there's a couple different explorers you need to know. I put them on a PowerPoint, which is a little bit easier to kind of get them all together. Oh, I had that one wrong. So, first one that you need to know as you're going through this list is you want to know Juan Ponce de Leon. He was a conqueror and governor of Puerto Rico, but what you want to know mainly about him is that he discovered Florida. So, make a note for him, he discovered Florida. So he goes up a little bit higher and discovers Florida. Their word for flowers sounds very close to Florida, so that's why he named it Florida, was because the flowers, the native flowers in that area, were in full bloom whenever he landed. So he thought it was a very pretty flower land. So that's where their name comes from. Vasco da Gama, he discovered the Pacific Ocean. Now, the Europeans were very depressed by this. Why do you think the Europeans were depressed that he discovered the Pacific Ocean? Anyone think they know? Even.
Does it take a long way to get to India?
Yeah, they some of them still kind of have to, but okay, go over here to the New World, and maybe the Orient's like right here, and maybe it's like really close to it. And so once they discovered the Pacific Ocean, okay, well there goes that. And so that was depressing for them. So it was one of those, yay! Oh, okay, well, thank you for discovering that, I guess. So Vasco da Gama, to take a note of him, he discovered the Pacific Ocean. Ferdinand Magellan, he embarked on an epic 3-year voyage around the world. But keep in mind they're using ships. There's one reason why it took so long. It took 3 years to get all the way around the world this time. Plus, they didn't know really which water routes to use, how to get across the land. That's why it took so long for him to do it. Today, you can get around the world a lot faster. I looked it up one time to see like what would be the fastest way around the world, like how fast could you do it. If you can find flights that connect quickly, you can do it, and I believe it's about like 23 hours, 24 hours. The time zones get a little bit funky in some areas whenever you cross the international date line and stuff, but you can do it relatively quick. In this time period, nope, 3 years. Technically, he died in the Philippines, but his crew made it back home, and because his crew made it back home, we still give him credit, even though technically he died. But your book points out that he started off with 5 ships and several hundred men. Only 18 made it back home. It was just a very dangerous journey. They had diseases, other problems with other nations, natural disasters. So out of several hundred, only 18 made it back. So good job for those 18. But since he was like the captain of it, we give him credit, even though technically it was one of his poor 18 crew. They made it back for him, and so he's given the credit for it. Alright, Ethan, do you have a question?
Back in that time, like 15, 17 and all that, was the Atlantic Ocean named the Atlantic Ocean?
I'm sure they probably had their own like local names for it because they didn't know they might have just called it just the ocean or something else like that. I don't know if they called it full on the Atlantic Ocean yet. I don't remember off the top of my head, but I don't know officially whenever they decided to call it that. I'm sorry. Alright, this minute Ferdinand Magellan, he's given credit for an epic 3-year voyage around the world, even though technically he died. Alright, Hernando Cortez. Make it up for him. He's known for conquering the Aztecs in Mexico. This is a picture of a headdress that was given to him. Now, this headdress has been refurbished since then. This one has been in several different museums. As you can see, it's very pretty, very large. It's kind of like a headdress or kind of like a headpiece. It was ceremonial, and originally the Aztecs were kind of excited. Oh, that's cool. Here's this other people group coming over. Eventually, though, they realized this isn't necessarily a good idea. Cortez, he was kind of horrified at the human sacrifices that the Aztecs did. Your book points out at their main capital, they dedicate, people think that they sacrificed as many as 20,000 people. That's men, women, and children at the sacrifice for this temple. And so because of that, Cortez was kind of horrified. I mean, understandably, he was Roman Catholic, so all of the slaughter was horrifying to him. So he decided, not only are these people pagan, but he also realized how much gold and silver that they had. And so because of that, he said, I'm going to use this to my advantage. A lot of the neighboring tribes around the Aztecs didn't like the Aztecs. So why do you think the neighboring tribes around them didn't really like the Aztecs?
We sold our people and that's part of them.
Yes! So because of that, the neighboring tribes said, we don't like you either. So Cortez basically had an alliance with the tribes around them and basically portrayed the king of the Aztecs and conquered the Aztecs. Your book gives the name for him. So Montezuma, the capital city, is where Mexico City is today. Now, I am not an Aztec person, so I struggle with the pronunciation. So Tenochtitlan is how they say it, but it's a lot of consonants together. So Hernando Cortez, he basically portrayed the Aztecs and conquered them. But he mainly did it for the gold and silver, but also he thought that they were pagan and horrible people as well for it. Because of this, you kind of hear about the legend of Montezuma's revenge, about how people, whenever you go over into Mexico, they tell you as a white American, do not drink the water because of Montezuma's revenge. Alright, does anyone know what's the real reason? It's not like he's actually like cursed the water, but there is a very good reason as to why you as a white American should not go drink the water.
There's poison in it.
Okay, not poison, but you're right, there is something in it.
Too much. Is there blood in it?
No. That'd be really rough. Okay, because the Mexican people, they can drink it and be fine.
Is their stomachs are weaker?
Close. Really close idea for it. Alright, so if you grow up in Mexico and you drink the water constantly, there's a type of bacteria in the water that your body will basically become immune to it. But if you go over there and you just drink the water, you don't have that natural resistance. Basically, you get food poisoning from it, like really, really, really bad, and you start throwing up and get dehydrated. That's what they tell you if you go over into Mexico. They tell you, even today, bring bottles of water with you. Do not drink the water over there at all, just because it'll make you sick.
Anywhere in Mexico, don't drink it?
It's a lot of it. I think there are some areas where they have like bottled water specifically for Americans, but I mean it's expensive because they know you have to drink it, otherwise you're gonna get sick. It's one of those to where, okay, you're not gonna instantly it's rough, and you pretty much have to go home at that point because no one likes to be sick in a foreign country, and that's not fun. So I've had friends that have been on mission trips over in Mexico. My cousins have done it, and so they said that it's a real thing of you bring your own water, you don't drink the water. The missionaries there help you out, and one of my cousins accidentally drank water by accident, and yet she had to come home just because it got her that sick. So it is something. Now people call it Montezuma's revenge, with the idea of the king of the Aztecs like cursed the water for all white settlers. No, if you grew up over there, you'd be fine. But just because you're a person that's going over there, you don't have the ability to drink the water. Alright, so just make a note though, Hernando Cortez, you don't have to know all the rest of that stuff, but Hernando Cortez, just make a note that he did conquer the Aztecs. Alright, Francisco Pizarro, he conquered the Incas of Peru. Alright, now we're getting more into South America area, but again, the Spanish are all spreading out from that section. So, Francisco Pizarro, he conquered the Incas of Peru. Now, the Incas were also a very advanced civilization, but they still didn't know God. And so, because of that, their lifestyles, again, weren't the best. And so because of Francisco Pizarro, he went over and conquered them, converted to Christianity, or die. But a lot of those people ended up dying because of it. Alright, let's see the next one. Cabeza, remember Spanish pronunciation, de Vaca. He discovered New Mexico and Arizona, explored Texas. The main thing you want to know about him though is that his account helped kind of popularize the idea of these 7 cities of gold, or these 7 cities that the Native Americans had. They called it Cibola. So those are supposedly like these wealthy cities that the Native Americans had and were keeping secret. Unfortunately, since the Spanish were kind of obsessed with gold, the idea is that the Native Americans have these secret, wealthy cities, and they're keeping them a secret from us, led to a lot of trouble for the Native Americans. And so, even though you have the Spanish conquerors coming over, they would try to find these wealthy cities, and they would try to use the Native Americans to get them to tell them where these cities are, but the cities don't exist. So, sorry, Native Americans, life was rough in this era. So, Francisco Coronado, make a note for him that he spent a lot of his life kind of looking for it. So, just make a note for him. He explored Arizona, New Mexico, Texas, Oklahoma. Don't know all that. Do make a note that one of his groups of men, one of the party of his men, they discovered the Grand Canyon. And that was new because they hadn't really seen a canyon like that before. So, they would realize that's a big ditch. Can't get across this very well. And so they discovered the Grand Canyon. That's what kind of we give him credit for it. It was a group of his people. So Francisco Coronado, make a note for him. We give him credit for discovering the Grand Canyon. Next page. Hernando de Soto. So he discovered the Mississippi River. Again, discover it. This is a bummer to get across. That's a big river. And so we're trying to, and so we give him credit for discovering the Mississippi River. Mississippi River becomes critical as well. Side note, 7th grade, make sure your water bottle stays underneath your desk so that it doesn't fall. It doesn't startle everybody else. You okay, 7th grade?
I think she had a heart attack.
Deep breaths. Okay, so we're getting back into it. Alright, so Hernando de Soto discovered Mississippi River. Oh, that's what I was going with that. Alright, why does the Mississippi River become important? Anyone think they know? We talked about this kind of yesterday.
Westward expansion, is that what it's about? Like in the Louisiana Purchase?
Okay, partly, but
People that sail down the river, Sacagawea, stuff like that.
I don't know if Sacagawea is
It was, no, she was with, I forget their names. Lewis and Clark.
And yeah, she goes across the United States, so I guess she went down part of it, but Mississippi River is important for mainly for shipping for later years. So going up and down the Mississippi River is much easier than going up and down the same area by land. So you're going to see that there's a lot of battles fought around the Mississippi River to determine who controls it, because that was considered easiest for shipping. That's the reason why this discovery makes it into the textbook, just because this becomes important and it reappears over and over again in history. Alright, Juan Abreu, I have to look up pronunciation. He's given credit for discovering or exploring the coast of California, again going all the way across the United States and help discovering it and exploring it for the Spanish. Alright, last major explorer to make a note for him is Estevanico. Your book is just pointing out that it's not just the Spanish just going out and exploring in the New World. Some Africans came over and helped the Spanish explore. So just make a note for him that he was an African, again, not African American because America is not a country yet. So he was an African who accompanied the Spanish on expeditions in Florida, Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, and Mexico. So it's not like it's just the Spanish and only the Spanish. There were other people helping them out as well. Alright, anyone have any questions about the explorers and what you need to know? As kind of like a recap, what you need to have highlighted as we go through this. Juan Ponce de Leon, he discovered Florida. Vasco de Balboa, he discovered the Pacific. Ferdinand Magellan, 3-year voyage around the world. Hernando Cortez with the Aztecs. Francisco Pizarro, he conquered the Incas. Cabeza de Vaca, his expedition inspired the stories of the wealthy 7 cities of Cibola, the city of gold. Francisco Coronado, he discovered the Grand Canyon. Hernando de Soto, he discovered the Mississippi River. Juan Cabrillo, he explored the coast of California. And Estevanico, he was an African that helped out the Spanish. Alright, anyone have any questions about any of those people? Alright, Spanish legacy in America. So even though we are not a property of Spain today, our Spanish heritage is still very, very evident. Not necessarily up here in Georgia, because we're a little bit farther away from the Spanish areas that they conquered. But if you were to go down to Arizona, New Mexico, South America, there is a lot of leftover kind of legacy of the Spanish and how they explored an area. Europe points out, though, kind of a key feature, though, is St. Augustine in Florida. That is the first permanent European settlement in present-day United States. Mark that one, note that. That St. Augustine, this is the first permanent European settlement in the present-day United States. Now, there's going to be a first French settlement and a first British or English settlement as well. So just make a note, this is the first Spanish one, but also the very, 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 very first one. So make a note. St. Augustine, Florida, this is the first permanent European and also Spanish settlement in present-day United States. The book points out there are several other Catholic missions that were also started to kind of help evangelize the Native Americans. In some cases, they would have haciendas or those ranches, kind of like a plantation, as well in the area for people, Spanish people, coming over and living in America as well. Your book points out that El Camino Real, that was the major road that helped ran in North America there. Now, I have a picture of it, and I'll move down my slide a little bit later. Now, this picture, this is the longer version of the Camino Real. Originally, in this time period, it started at Santa Fe, up here, and then it goes down to this city of Mexico. Today, it runs all the way down to Mexico City. They just point out that, okay, this was a major, kind of like a highway or a major road at the time. So just make a note of that. The oldest road in the United States is El Camino Real. So make a note for that one. It means the King's Highway or the Royal Highway. So make a note for that. So the Royal Highway, that is the oldest road. This is the oldest road in America. So make a note of that one. Now today, it has been extended. Okay.
So, I thought Belize was a city. If the Belize is on the map, I thought Belize was a city, not a country. Is Belize a country?
Yeah. You sure?
I know it's like one of the richest places, but
I'm pretty sure. I mean, off the top of my head, I'm drawing a blank, but yeah, I'm a good 99% sure. Okay, Ethan, you got a question?
Road or highway?
Technically a highway is a little bit different than a road. Just note that it's the oldest road. And so the name, it means the Royal Highway, so El Camino Real. If you were to get super technical, like an interstate is different than an average road. Does anyone know which country was technically using like interstates first? Not us.
Montreal.
Nope.
England.
Nope.
Spain.
Nope.
America.
France.
France. Nope.
America.
Australia.
Nope. Nope. Portugal. Nope.
Japan.
Nope.
Belize.
Nope.
China.
Nope. Oh, think World War II.
China.
Germany.
Germany.
Forget Germany.
Both of y'all.
Hitler used it first to transport troops around, and whenever we went over there, we realized, this is actually a good idea. We're taking this. And so that's probably the reason why we use interstates today. Is that's it's the major highways that basically help you just get around the country faster. For it.
What is Route 66 then?
That's the older one. Remember that one's around like the 1950s. Okay, yes, he's referencing cars. But that's probably the reason why it goes through all these small towns. It was to help you get through these smaller town areas. After World War II, whenever we came back, we realized, Hitler had a good idea about making a road that you can go really fast on and not have to stop in towns. Basically, yes. And so that's the reason we borrowed that idea. So, to answer your question, ultimately, highway, interstate, and roads are a little bit different today, depending on what you mean. Now, their name, the Spanish name for it, the Royal Highway, but do note that it is the oldest road in America. Okay, that was a very long answer to hopefully a very fast question. Alright, you make a note that Santa Fe, this served as the capital of the Spanish settlement in the American Southwest. So if you're looking at this map, I think it's kind of probably too blurry on the camera. But Santa Fe is right here, so that was served as the capital of the Spanish in the area of North America. Now they still have their own capital in Spain, but this is the capital of basically the new Spanish area. So making over that one, Santa Fe. They also founded San Diego. This is the first European settlement in California, so again on the Pacific coast. Make a note for that one as well. And okay, those are the like major road things you need to know. So then you know St. Augustine, El Camino Real, Santa Fe, and San Diego. Alright, they also left their religion in a lot of North and South America. Now in America, not necessarily as like the United States, not necessarily much, but in Central America, in South America, this is the dominant religion, even today. Anyone know what religion that is? Raise your hand. Catholic or Catholicism. So make a note for that. So Catholicism, this is still the dominant in a lot of those Latin American countries. Many of them still speak Spanish, with the exception of Brazil, because Brazil was conquered by Portugal. They speak Portuguese. So almost everybody else speaks Spanish. So make a note of that. And also their culture. There is a lot of Spanish and Mexican style foods that are still around today. And that's because of the Spanish influence in the areas of Arizona, New Mexico, Mexico proper, and in those areas. There's a lot of Spanish ideas and a lot of the Spanish culture that was brought over into North America and South America from it. Alright, anyone have any questions about the Spanish legacy before we move on? Alright, defeat of the Spanish Armada. Prince Philip, or I guess King Philip now at this point, that he was a Spanish king, and he was becoming a very wealthy individual because, because of all the gold and silver that his conquistadors was stealing from the Native Americans. I know fashion at the time is kind of odd. Okay, this is King Philip.
That's what I was about to say.
Wait, this is King Philip II. This is
Pennywise.
Queen Elizabeth. So
That's not Queen
this
Elizabeth,
is
that's Pennywise.
No.
That doesn't look like
No.
one of those.
No. Alright, so Elizabeth I, make a note for that as well. Right, so these are the two kind of rival powers. I know fact is the time we're on and it was weird. I'm sorry. But we got King Philip II. He was the leader of Spain, while Queen Elizabeth, she was the ruler of England. Now, England had already broken away from the Roman Catholic Church. Anyone remember, your book does not tell you this, anyone remember why and which king broke away from the Roman Catholic Church? You might remember this from royal history. So raise your hand.
Henry VIII,
Henry VIII, remember why?
because he wanted to divorce his wife,
Because he wanted what?
Thomas Harvey,
And the wife.
to marry a new one.
Okay, but why was he marrying so many different girls? It wasn't just because
Why
he
Had
wanted
a son
kids.
to rule for him.
He wanted basically a ruling heir. He wanted a son specifically. At the time, they thought that it was the female's fault if it was born a girl or a boy. That's why they kept divorcing or killing the wives. Keep trying to get a different, basically, to get a wife that would make him or choose at the time to have a male heir for him. Now, thankfully, we know that that's not true today. So Henry VIII killed a whole bunch of people for no reason. But he had already broken away from the Roman Catholic Church. So England was already a Protestant nation. So you already have that natural rivalry between Spain and England because they're already different religions based off that. But then also Spain was trying to gain a lot of wealth. Bless you. And England, even though they weren't a dominant power yet, they were still trying to rival Spain as well. Your book points out that Queen Elizabeth, that she at first secretly tried to hinder trade by encouraging basically pirates. They were called English sea dogs at the time, but they're pirates. They were basically sanctioned pirates, and where the English said, it's okay, go attack their ships for us. We can't officially do it because we don't want to go on record officially attacking the Spanish ships, but you can unofficially go attack them and it's fine. It's okay. You won't get in trouble with us from it. So your book points out two of them in particular is Sir John Hawkins and Sir Francis Drake. Make a note of Sir Francis Drake, he comes back in your history book. So you're gonna see him a couple different times. So, Sir John Hawkins and Sir Francis Drake. Does anyone know what that title, Sir, traditionally is reserved for?
First speaker.
Harley, Glenn, a knight. Yeah, so if you get knighted in England, you get the title of Sir. Now, you as an American are forbidden to get knighted unless you get special permission by Congress. You
In
can't get
America?
the title as an American today, because you can still get knighted as like ceremonial and still get the title, but you're not allowed to do that today. So, wait. Alright, I have like 1 minute, so just wait and hang on to your question. So just make a note that John Hawkins and Sir Francis Drake basically were pirates, but they were sanctioned pirates for it. Alright, the Spanish Armada. King Philip II decided he eventually had it with England. He decided, that's it. You've interfered with trade, you've interfered with my gold, you've interfered with my conquest of the Netherlands. And now, the Pope says, it's okay. We're going to have a counter-reformation to try to get rid of the Protestants. And King Philip said, I know what I can do now. I can now be sanctioned to go get rid of the English, and I can now take over their country, and I can rule it instead. Or I can put someone else that favors Catholicism and will be more united with me. Let's talk about what happens more tomorrow about that time. Alright, you don't have any homework because it is Wednesday, but when is your editorials due? Genesis, do you remember? Next Wednesday, so don't forget, it's next Wednesday. So, thinking back over it, who discovered the Mississippi River? Reckon. A lot of people today, I know. Alright, Ethan, who discovered the Mississippi River?
DeSoto.
DeSoto, good job. Who discovered Florida?
Florida, that was.
Danielle, second class.
Ponce de Leon.
Ponce de Leon, good job. Who's looking for the continent route? Who conquered the Incas? Genesis. Incas of Peru. This lesson starts with P. I know there are a lot of people, you gotta study them. Alright, Reckon, do you remember?
Purple Man.
Nope, okay, what's his name?
Pizarro.
Alright, Francisco Pizarro.
Francisco
Pizarro.
Pisa.
Oh. What the heck? Oh, wait, I have to give them to you because they're on.
Corona.
Orange. What you did? Is it, I'm not looking, is it orange? I don't think I have none actually.
Hey Ethan, you can have my candy. Even though I won.
Orange. Or that, it doesn't matter.
How did I
Wait,
not?
how did he get candy?
Pineapple?
Huh?
Pineapple?
How did he get candy?
I won, remember? I tied with you.
I don't know who
You
else
can
is
have mine.
talking.
Okay,
but
cool.
I look over and I see you talking, you're talking. Alright, so, since you're right is, I will not talk for permission during study hall. You need to write down for you, wait a minute. Get up and speak. Okay, I'll look over and I see you talking. You won't have to I'll just love you. So make sure if you keep yourself focused where, then you should be fine. I see Jaden as cool people, then I'm gonna Jaden. But I'm gonna just love you. Are you okay with being focused? I need to because you got partially injured, I'll just lower it just to 10 cents. Bring it tomorrow. Don't sit yet, Corona. Run it. Contaminated. Bottom of the water. Jump down, Maddie. That's it. Jump down, Dalton.